Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Zimbabwe is heading for yet another rigged election. I think we need to understand that it's not rocket science. Holding free, fair, and credible election is not an impossible task. That should be understood. So why is it that 43 years after independence, in this day and age, we are still failing to hold free, fair, and credible election? The reason is very simple. We had, after independence, a Zanu PF regime that had absolutely no respect for free, fair, and credible election, for democratic rule. It did not want to be held to account by the voters. So Zanu PF, after independence, set out to impose a de facto one-party state, something that it has successfully done. We had the opportunity to end that dictatorship. People must understand that, particularly during the GNU, the 2008 to 2013 GNU. SADC, yes, they could have done a better job of it. Nonetheless, the opportunity was there. The GNU's primary task, which SADC understood, was to implement the democratic reforms to dismantle the ZANU de facto one-party state that ZANU PF had created. So what happened during the GNU? Well, Robert Mugabe bribed Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC colleagues with the trappings of power, and they forgot to implement even one meaningful reform in 5 years. That is what landed us where we are now. There are some people out there who simply do not want to accept that, who refuse to accept that. Accept it or not, that is the political reality, and that is the political reality we've got to deal with. What happened during the GNU were two things. First of all, ZANU PF learned that as long as they can bribe MDC, they can get away with rigging the elections. And so during the GNU itself, they managed to retain all their dictatorial powers, including the carte blanche powers to rig elections. And ever since the GNU, ZANU PF has managed to see to it that they retained their power to rig elections, but they always allow the opposition to win a few seats. That's the sweetener for the opposition. Yes, the opposition could have aimed for democratic reforms and win power in their own right. They did not. That is the reality. That is the reality we've got to accept. Post GNU, we are now dealing with a ZANU PF regime that has got carte blanche powers to rig elections to stay in power, working in cahoots with an opposition that is content to have a few seats on the gravy train, to participate in an election, regardless how flawed the process happened to be, for the sake of a few seats on the gravy train. This is the reality. What MDC have been trying to do is give the impression that they are fighting, still fighting for democratic reforms for free, fair, and credible elections so that all Zimbabweans have got a meaningful say in the governance of the country. Whereas in reality, they are not. MDC and now CCC have been paying lip service to those basic requirements for free, fair, and credible elections. This is what is at the heart of our problem. It's not that CCC do not deny those fundamental requirements for free, fair, and credible elections. Today, they gave an interview. And in that interview, they readily acknowledged the problem of the failure to hold free and fair and credible elections. And two of the basic requirements is the ongoing violence. Let's just listen to a recording of the interview that their lawyer advocate, the party spokesperson advocate, Vazai Mahere, gave. Well, that is acknowledging that violence is a serious problem. Now listen to another problem that they themselves acknowledge as well.
And for an electronic copy of the voters' roll. Everything, when it comes to delimitation, turns on the voters' roll. It tells us the number of voters in any given area. You know, we can't just get a table from ZEC saying that there are 33,000 voters in Mount Pleasant or 22,000 in Live Central. That's not enough. We have to see the actual voters' roll so that we can ensure that the data that they're giving us meets the verifiability test. Our constitution says that an election must not only be free and fair, it has to be verifiable. So that is the foundational document. It's the syllabus for any election. We can't understand for the life of us why ZEC would hold it. And with
well, the issue there is they acknowledge that violence is a serious problem in Zimbabwean election. And they also acknowledge that the need for a verified voters roll is absolutely paramount. And yet, we can all be certain of one thing. CCC will participate in these elections regardless of the fact that nothing is done to stop the violence. Nothing is done to produce the verified voters roll. Why? The answer is simple. It goes back to what happened during the GNU. Zanu PF bribed Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC friends to forget about the reforms. And the bribing continues to this day. Zanu PF is offering these MDC members a few seats on the gravy train. And last November, President Emerson Mnangagwa gave members of parliament 40,000 US dollars housing loan, he said. Everybody knows that they don't have to repay those loans. Even the CCC leader, Nelson Chamisa, acknowledged that it was a bribe. The tragedy with that bribe is it has whetted the appetite of the opposition. The opposition will participate in these elections, regardless of the failure to end the culture of violence, regardless of the fact that ZEC will not produce a verified voters roll. In fact, it's too late now to produce a verified voters roll. The delimitation itself was supposed to be based on a verified voters roll. And yet, the opposition will participate. And this cartoon really encapsulates that problem. As long as Zanu PF is able to bribe the opposition, Zimbabwe will never have free, fair, and credible election. That is the reality that we have got to deal with as a nation. We cannot afford to have these meaningless elections, because by participating in these elections, the opposition is giving Zanu PF legitimacy. And we, the ordinary people, are stuck. How long are we going to be stuck with a corrupting, tyrannical regime that rigs election, gives us no chance, just because the opposition now are pretending to be fighting for the ordinary people, when in reality, they've given up on reforms, they've given up on free and fair and credible elections. All they are fighting for is whatever Zanu PF is offering them. These few gravy train seats, and with all the perks that comes with it, this housing loan, this 40,000 that we can see in the cartoon there, was only the latest addition to what you'll get as a member of parliament, be it from the ruling party or the opposition. And that is what the opposition are fighting for. I think Zimbabweans need to wake up to this reality that at the present moment, the opposition has stopped fighting for reforms, free, fair, and credible elections. That is the reality. Ever since the 2008 to 2013 GNU, the opposition is no longer representing the ordinary people's wishes. The opposition are fighting for whatever Zanu PF is offering them as a bribe, a price for giving Zanu PF legitimacy. We, to get out of this political and economic mess, we need to have free, fair, and credible elections. That is absolutely paramount. That should not be negotiable. And we cannot afford to have 2023 elections rigged again and allow Zanu PF to have legitimacy. This point is absolutely important. We can stop Zanu PF getting legitimacy by accepting and publicly denouncing the opposition for selling out. Because that is what they are. They are selling out. And continue to show that this election process is so flawed, it cannot produce a legitimate government. How can you have a legitimate government or a process where you don't even have something as basic as a verified voters roll? where violence is still rampant, where the ordinary people in the rural areas in particular are frog marched to attend Zanu PF rallies and then to vote for Zanu PF. This is ridiculous. We must stop. We cannot stop Zanu PF rigging these elections, and we cannot stop the opposition participating in these elections. What we can do is expose that this process is flawed and is illegal, and expose that the opposition have lost political credibility, and insist on Zanu PF must not get legitimacy through this process. That is the task that we have got to set for ourselves. And that is the goal that we must attain. 2023 must be the last year we have another flawed and illegal election process. We can't stop it, but it must be the last. And we can only make sure that it is the last by making sure that Zanu PF does not get legitimacy, that the opposition does not get credibility, as they are no longer a credible opposition. And a discredited opposition cannot give the ruling party, Zanu PF, legitimacy. That is the task before us. And we must not give up on that fight. This is a fight that we must win, and win we can if we focus our minds on it. With that, thank you very much and good night.